was just an amazing thing, you and Edna Langford driving through Florida. Nobody knew you, and you really started from ground zero. Amazing story.
We'd go to the courthouse first. Edna had worked in the courthouse, in the probate judge's office, I think. I'm not sure, but anyway, she had at one time worked in the courthouse. She said, they can tell you all the gossip. So we would go in the courthouse and we would get the names of the influential people, and they would tell you those. They were so excited to see me, they would say, I'd say, I'm Rosalynn Carter, my husband's running for president. President of what? President of the United States. They would say, you've got to be kidding. And then they'd start running out and say, hey, this woman's husband's running for president.
Couldn't believe it.
And so I got a lot of attention.
Sure. Maybe they thought president of a local utility company. Or, amazing.
I had a bumper sticker that said Carter in big letters. And at first we started getting I would always have a picture on the front page, in particular small towns. And then Ed and I decided the writing under it, maybe people wouldn't hear the name. So we took this bumper sticker, and when they take our picture, we'd hold it up in front so everybody could see Carter. That was my job in that part of the election, was just to get Jimmy's name before people.
Sure. And it worked, too. It worked. Now, let's talk about when you're in the White House. It was quite a thing was made about your attending cabinet meetings. There was a lot of press on that. If something came up and you wanted to influence your husband, an important subject that you felt strongly about, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I never hesitated to tell him how I felt about something.
Yes.
Which I think is really important, because when somebody gets to be a president, people sometimes don't tell them what they really think. They want to agree with him.
Sure.
And but the children and I, we had always argued at the table, mainly on issues of some kind. Jimmy would just say something he didn't even believe to get the boys and Amy too, when she came along, interested in discussing a subject, the pros and cons. And I would get really upset because I couldn't even swallow sometimes, but they loved it. And so we continued to do that in the White House. We would tell him what we thought. And I don't know well, Jim and I did not have the kind of relationship that I say, do this. Never. What happened was, I could travel more freely when he was president than he could. I had an entourage, but he had one that was unbelievable.
Oh, sure.
So I could go into convalescent homes and golden age clubs and inner city schools and mental health facilities, and I could come home and tell him what I found. If I wanted to know how the fuel oil prices were for the elderly or for young people who didn't have much money when they had gone so high, I could go to New Hampshire and go into some homes and talk to the people about it. He couldn't do those kinds of things. And so I would come home and tell him what I found. And then we did have discussions at the table, and we talked about the things he was doing, and I always let him know. He always listened to me. I think by the time we got to the White House, we had developed a mutual respect for each other and what the other could do. And he always listened to me. He didn't always react the way I wanted him to, but he always listened.
Sure.
And just to my side of the argument, if it was an argument, he would always listen to it.
Did he kind of use you as a sounding board or
He
something?
did.
He did that quite often. Yeah. And so he valued your opinion, obviously, on issues like the Panama Canal and other things that were very controversial.
Well, he valued my opinion, but he also disagreed with me a lot, because I know the Panama Canal treaties, I tried to keep him from doing that. I said, don't do that. If you want to win a second term, this is the best way I know to make enemies, because it was a really, really heated subject, heated argument on both sides of it, and it was politically very costly. In fact, I think every senator that voted for it that was up for re-election the next year was defeated.
Yes. It shows a lot of courage on his part.
That's right. And I've always been glad that he went ahead and did those difficult things, because what he would say to me was, well, suppose I don't have a second term.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, you're not going to have it if you keep doing it.
Yeah.
But he would, but if he hadn't done those things, he would have gone down in history as a do-nothing president.
Sure.
But this way he has a great record.
Yeah, a legacy to be proud of.
That's right.